on to how to price the jobs. So you have everything set up. You have your LLC, your EIN, your advertising, your CRM, your QuickBooks, and everything is set up ready to go. So I actually just realized that I didn't do kind of analysis on QuickBooks yet, so I'm gonna actually make that the extra video. Anyways, we come here and you finally advertised and you finally got someone to call you or they put in a request in your CRM and you look at it and you're like, okay, what do I do next? Right? So in the beginning when we had the free time, because we didn't have many customers that we had to go back to or go back and forth to, right? So we would go to the person's house in person and assess the job that they were asking us to do. Now, when it comes to any landscaping job, so if you're installing mulch, or if you're installing rock, or if you're doing a retaining wall, or if you're doing a patio, I would highly suggest going in person to give that quote. Just because you don't really know what's there and you can't really see it from Google. But now, if you're very busy and you have a very dense route and you're still taking on new customers and you don't have the time to really stop and go and give a person an in-depth quote, I would highly suggest doing this through satellite, right? So we have this tool, Google Maps, and it makes it a lot easier to price this job. So when it comes to mowing, it's relatively simple. You can look at it and you can kind of estimate how long it's going to take you to mow that property. Now you can be as specific as you want, and you can get the square footage, and you can deep dive into that. For me, that I feel like that takes too much time. If I get gypped a couple extra dollars, then I get gypped an extra couple dollars. Um, this way here, it's the fastest form of contacting your customers when they send a request. So I'm sure you might have dealt with this before where you contact a landscaping company and you're like, hey, I'm looking to get a quote on how much it's going to cost to mow my property. And the landscaper, if they pick up the phone call, a lot of times they don't. That's why customer service is huge. If they do pick up the phone call, more often than not, they're going to be like, I can get out to you in like 2 or 3 days, and I can get there around 11, right? And the person's at work and we're like, I don't know. And it causes a hassle and you lose a customer, right? But this way here, when they hit you up and they say, hey, I'm looking for a quote on my property, you can get back to them with a quote in less than 15 minutes probably. And the way you can do that is as soon as it comes through your jobber, you open it up, you put the address right into Google Maps and you go, oh, okay, here's 17 East Street, right? I just use this as an example. I don't know whose house this is, but I'm going to use that as an example. So you come on here and you're like, okay, 17 East Street, they requested a quote. Their name is Patrick, right? So we're going to come here and we're going to zoom in. So, all right. So they got a little bit of a, tree space that back here. And it looks like there's some property back here. More often than not, they're going to describe, okay, like, this is where property line is and stuff like that. Or you can just get them on the phone. Hey, where's your property line? I used to do this over the phone with them. So I'd be looking at their property over the phone, explaining to them what we can do. So I'd be like, hey, I see here, I'm looking at 17 East Street on Google Satellite. Where does the property line end? Oh, it ends with that big tree in the back. Okay, and where's the left side? And then you can be like, oh, it's right here. Here's the left side of the property line. Hey, where's the right side? Oh, it's where the telephone pole is, right? Or it's adjacent to the house across from us, right? So now you have a rough estimate of what's going on here. And you're like, okay, let's do $55 a week, right? Then now they go, oh, like that quick? You got me the quote already? Yep, I'm gonna send the quote over to you. Just accept it, and we'll put you right on the schedule. We could be there in 2 days to mow your property, or we could be there tomorrow to mow your property, whichever way you want to do it. Now, you can also go on the street here, and you can see. So you're like, oh, okay. So up here it's gonna be real quick. Here's that telephone pole, right? So that I'm gonna suggest this is where property line cuts off, and then the yard goes all the way back there, so you can see it, right? You're like, oh, okay, so it's relatively flat. Doesn't look like there's any indents where the water can build up. The grass looks relatively healthy. Not too many obstacles. And you can come over to this side. Not too many trees. And you can see just about the entire lawn. And now after going through this, I just gave the quote for $55 going through the top of the satellite view. After looking at this, I might be like, oh, this goes pretty far back, right? Let's say $70 every week. That's how much we'll mow your property for. And then you can get the agreement right there, or they can negotiate with you. They, what about 65? And you go, well, because of the where you are in our route, I would be okay with 65. Or you can stand tall and be like, no, 70 is the price. It's gonna take us 45 minutes to do X, Y, and Z, right? So this is definitely a very good way of quoting your projects. Like I said before, it might not be 100% accurate every single time. You might get gypped here or there, and that's okay because you just save so much time by doing it like this rather than going to the in person and having to go walk around the entire property, spending a lot of time doing that, and you're kind of screwed. So that's a definitely one of the better options when it comes to quoting a property. Now, when it comes to mulch jobs or when it comes to installing any sort of rock or any sort of landscaping project, you're obviously going to want to go through your material and supply costs, and you're going to want to put that into the cost of the quote. So you can explain to them, like, listen, we have the material costs, we have the supply costs, we also have the cost that it's going to take for the tools to get there. So say you need a mini excavator, or you need a little mini bulldozer or a skid steer, whatever you need. You need to specify that and how much it costs to actually get that machinery to the property. And then you can also put on a labor charge. And with Jobber, you can specify how much you charge for labor. And that's going to be important because now that brings transparency to the customer. They can see exactly what they're being charged for. So they know how much the rock is per square footage of rock, or per ton of rock, however they want to price their rock from whichever supplier you get it from. But they can see how much you paid for it, how much you're charging them for. They can see that you're not paying taxes on the materials or the supplies because you already paid the taxes on them. And they can see that you're not jipping them for your time. And that is probably the best way of going about this.